Good morning, everybody. This is Jorge here with KETIV Technologies, and welcome everybody for joining us today, where we'll be discussing configurable designs using iLogic and Configurator 360. Just very quickly, I'm excited today that we have a presenter from Autodesk, actually Travis Evans, who will be doing this with us today. Travis, I've known him for quite a few years from the Autodesk channel here, and he's helped me out a lot. I consider him a mentor as well, and I hope you guys will like as much as I like what he has here prepared to show us today. So just really quickly, for those of you who are joining us new to AVA, I just want to let you know the AVA, of course, is at 10 a.m. every Thursday. So if you are new to this, you'll be getting reminders every Wednesday, and then the link on Thursday mornings to be able to join us for all the different sessions. So we do have some upcoming sessions. If Travis, you want to go to the next slide there, just so you guys know, the next session next week will be on Inventor Dynamics Simulation with bonus and simulation mechanical. We'll also do a session where we talk about model simplification, especially how it relates to factory, but still it could be very useful for those of you looking at model simplification. And then how we can do some automated processes inside of Vault, such as automatic PDF generation and things of that nature. I want to remind everybody also, before we get started here, there is a question and answer panel on the right-hand side. So by all means, any questions you have at all, please let us know. And I will be monitoring that as the session goes along here, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end. So with this, I'd like to kick it over to Travis, again from Autodesk, and I'm excited to have him show us this, as well as, by the way, this is another topic that was suggested by the community. So keep those coming. At the end, you'll get a survey. We do look at those and take those seriously. So Travis, over to you.
All right, thanks, Jorge. So today we are going to be focusing on that configurable designs. And so really my goal of the presentation today is really kind of twofold. We have two parts that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the iLogic portion of that, where we're talking about rules-based design. And then we're going to talk about how we can extend that to like a sales configuration through Configurator 360. So really two parts we're going to focus on today. So when you hear configurable designs or design automation, that's what we're going to be talking about. iLogic is a huge piece of that inside the Inventor software. And then Inventor has an extension to Configurator 360, which is another product where we can actually extend that out. And so to give you kind of an overview of what that looks like, I have this one slide here. So when you think about the entire sales process, right, capturing requirements, then we talk about configuring our products, and we're trying to figure out the cost and, developing, the proposals and things. That's really kind of the entire process when we're talking about configurable designs or design automation. Design automation is really where we talk about that longer piece, right, doing some kind of way to configure my product. Capturing some level of rules inside of my designs, and how am I going to share that? Well, Autodesk has two technologies that help with design automation. There's Inventor, where the key component of driving that is iLogic. There's also Inventor ETO, which is kind of the next level that we can take it to. But with sales automation, pretty much prior to Configurator 360, the only way to get that was having Inventor ETO. If I wanted to give any kind of access to a website where my customers could go and configure their models, it was through ETO, or Inventor Engineer to Order. But with the addition of Configurator 360, that is kind of the front-end engine for both, can be the front-end engine for both ETO and Inventor. So really giving them the way to kind of see that sales automation tool. And a project configurator, we can go to a website, like you go to a car website, and you're like, hey, I want these rims, I want this color, and have everything changed. That's really what Configurator 360 is allowing you to do. So if you're familiar with Configurator 360, there was, prior to December, this is what we could do. We could only do on a single project configuration. So for example, the example we're using today is kind of a kitchen cabinet space. And so prior to December, great thing about Configurator 360, it's a cloud-based product, so we continue to up that throughout the year. We get update cycles, and you can kind of see we can configure an individual component, right? So for this example, I can configure a cabinet, right? I can use those rules I've built inside of iLogic to post up onto online. So maybe I had a cabinet that was a two-door cabinet. Maybe I had an option for a single door. Maybe I had an option for a drawer. Maybe I had an option for a different, facing on that drawer based on some rules that I'm capturing, or even different colors and options like that. So pre-December, that's what Configurator 360 could deliver. But I'm really excited about this new stuff that just came out, being kind of more of a drag and drop functionality. So I can take all of these cabinets and put them inside of a kitchen, right? So I could do a whole kitchen environment. And this is just a good example to kind of show you guys how the drag and drop works, but it doesn't, I mean, not everybody designs kitchens. I mean, we design, products, we design cars, automobiles, industrial machinery, but if there's any pieces that are configurable, I'm using some rules and I'm placing them upon another component, right, that our customers can go, and there's a catalog they can browse to, but rather than going to my browser, right, I have Configurator 360, so really, end of the day, I can get my whole kitchen set up. So before December, Configurator 360, I could do the individual piece components. Now, today, we can actually bring all those components into one environment, and so we'll kind of show you that. But before we do that, we need to understand a little bit about iLogic, because that's really the component that's driving everything. So for that, we will look at a demonstration now of iLogic and how those rules work inside of Inventor. So I want to keep this casual. I want to show you guys some of the nuts and bolts of iLogic and how that works. And so the easiest way to do that is create some rules and use some things that are some snippets. So inside this rule, you can kind of see some of the parameters I've built inside of this iLogic piece. There's a material finish that I want to control the color of my cabinets. Maybe there's a style that I want to control, like the doors, right? If I want a single door or a double door, or if I want to control, hey, does it have doors or does it have drawers, right? So there's a couple options. And what is the width? Right? Cabinets are standard sizes, so the depth isn't going to really change on this particular model, but we can have multiples if we wanted to. So there's an idea of the parameters that are going to be used inside these rules. I'm going to start with a simple rule. Easiest rule for me to kind of understand is, we'll call this a color rule. If I want to change the color of this component, right? So if we wanted to take a look, we'll kind of move this around here so you guys can see a little bit what's happening. There's this idea of snippets. So these snippets are, you don't have to be a VB code. I mean, the only coding I ever took when I was in college and I was using C++ to control my robot. That was the only coding I've ever taken in my life. But you don't have to be a coder. You don't have to know Visual Basic. There's definitely Visual Basic components. If you want to start controlling additional things, you can do that. But the snippets are really helpful. So if we look at like features, right? Or we look at, wanted to turn off some components, we'll use some of those. There's some properties. So here, if I want to color like a color, you just double click on that part and that snippet, and now I have a part properties color. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to capture the entire view of this. One way you can do that to capture like a thing, you can also capture the state of this, and you can see all the rules that are contained within inside of this model, the different parameters and things. But all I'm really concerned about is controlling kind of the property colors, right? So I'm going to see there's a lot of rules and intent there, but all I'm doing here is I'm turning this property color into one of the parameters, one of the user parameters that I created, which was called finish, right? Material underscore, and if we spell finish correctly. Also in here, side note, you kind of see some nice little tips. It was brown, but now it's blue. Blue meaning it's an actual parameter that exists, within the model. So use a snippet to control the color. I have a property, as we showed, a parameter, right? It was called material finish, and now we'll just assign that. And you'll notice it automatically changed from that color back to orange. And why did it do that? Well, because orange is defined inside of there. So any of the colors, right, as far as the properties that are inside of here, any of the colors in this library, I can capture those. The benefit when you're using like a parameter, you want to make sure you capture any of the exact text. And so what I've done, a little trick or tip, so I'm controlling these. We'll go ahead and make this a multi-valuable parameter. We'll delete the orange because I don't know, some people might want orange cabinets, not everybody. But I have a text file that I just use where I'm like controlling different colors. I also have text files for other like iLogic snippets that I've created that worked in other projects. So for this one particularly, my material finish, I want some wood colors. So I have a nice snippet here I'm copying, and I can just paste that, and I'm going to add those colors to that property. And so now you can kind of see if I pull down through this pick list, right? I just choosing what color, my cabinets are. And the iLogic piece is using that rule to reassign that to that material property. So that's an easy rule, right? Color something, changing colors. Everybody likes to change the colors, and so that's an easy rule. I want to take a look at a level up, another rule. So here we have the finish of the drawers, and the idea with this parameter is you'll notice here with the specific sizes, maybe I want to have this cut out on the bigger ones, but if I have a smaller drawer, there's really not enough room to kind of add additional detail. Let me change the view here. There we go. Now you can start to see some more of that information. So here we have a drawer finish rule, right? This is a blank rule I'm going to start from. I'm going to show you some of the snippets and how that works. Again, here's a snippet. I'm going to say an if-then statement. So this is really what this is controlling is if I do something, then something else is going to happen. So here I have a parameter, right? My model parameters. We can kind of see all the parameters that are inside of there. I have my user-defined one. So here I have a number of drawers. So I'm going to capture this. If my number of drawers is less than 3, then I want it to do something. And what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to have it suppress or unsuppress a feature. So here, having access to all my features, I have this drawer trim piece, right? That was a feature I created, so I can capture its current state. And all I need is this true-false statement. I don't care about changing the degrees or anything like that, so I'm just going to erase that. But if this feature is active, and I can get there from over here, I can say feature is active. I could capture that snippet too. Benefit of showing you guys through this is because it actually captures the file name, like before where it just had, you saw the if-then statement, I had to replace it. Okay? So here's a rule. If the is greater than 3, I want this to be active. And if it's not, then I want it to do something else. So then I can say if, else if, and I can give it some kind of expression of, okay, what I want it to happen, well, it'll capture this current state again, or I could drag and copy, from here. So it says if the drawing, greater than 3, then that feature is active, and essentially creates that little cutout. So we want that to be false, right? Because we're making smaller drawers, so we want that cutout to go away. But if it's less than 3, we'll keep that at true. And then all I need to do is end my statement. So I've made a quick rule, it's just some logic. So anything you can capture in like, hey, if this does something, then something else. Really beneficial what those if-then statements are for. All right, so it also gives you some text to kind of say, hey, what else happens? Well, I forgot to tell it what else was going on. Well, then I'm going to say, well, if, my numbers, capture this guy, we'll just copy him. Got to give some other expression, right? Else if the number of drawers, and we'll say is less than or equal to 3, something else is going to happen, right? So we can control all those parameters. And now if we look at the drawer finish, if we look at, we can control that through my parameters, right? So the number of drawers, I can change it to 2. We can see everything that's updating. Let's change this to a little bit gray, or let's see if there's another color with it. You can see a little better there. All right, so you can see I have the cutouts, but now if I change it to 4, well, what's going to happen is those little cutouts went away. Manufacturing, I can't manufacture a little tiny slide. It wouldn't be visually appealing or something like that, so we can capture that information. So showing 2 quick iLogic rules, one to change the color, one to actually change the features and the components and how they're being built inside of there. Now what we want to do is look at kind of the way we can control that. We can create a user's form inside of Inventor, some of the iLogic. We'll call this demo box. And what this allows us to do is, so some of these styles, so maybe we can put groups together. So we want to group these things. You start to see how it's building out this form. So maybe we'll call this a width, right? And we'll close this and refresh that page there. We'll call this maybe the box. Right? This is the group that's going to control specific things related to the box. Well, that might be also the material finish, right? So how the material is being defined inside of there. So those are being grouped together. Maybe we want to change the order of those. Right? Want to choose the width, then choose the material finish. We can add another group, and this group would be drawers. Right, and so in this group, what we can say, hey, what are the number of drawers that are possible? I can also add images. There's a couple different ways these can be represented. So if I wanted to look at, in here, there's this idea of a combo box. I can have a list, or I can have some radial groups. You kind of see a couple different ways those things are happening. I can also do like sliders. So for maybe the width, I can do a slider where it could change the parameters, and I can say, hey, what's the smallest one I had versus what's the largest, right? So I can change the way that things are happening in that aspect. So now I have this demo box. Instead, I have to go to my parameters. We can come into here and understand, hey, you know what? I want a gray. Well, let's change it to cherry. Let's turn it to 3 drawer fronts, and let's go ahead and change the width. All right, so we can add some of those rules inside of there. It's very entry-level kind of things, but I want to be able to create a model that will represent a lot of different things. So one of the things is I don't want just drawers. I also want doors. So I also want to be able to say, you know what, if it's a 36-inch wide box, then you know what, it only can have double doors. But these smaller cabinets, they can have single doors. So I want to capture some of those rules, and for that, we're going to look at these. Some of these other rules I've created. So I'm just going to suppress this drawer finish because I've captured that same intent in some of these other rules. So we'll unsuppress these rules that we've already created, and you can start to see some of that information. So the first one we talked about was like the size. So here what it's saying, just giving you guys an idea of what my logic is coming into creating these codes, the little rules inside of here. What this is doing is saying if my width is less than 24 inches, then I can only have a single door. Again, I have a parameter that's a single. What this multi-value set list does is I can say I can have a parameter, and before I copied and pasted those colors into my Dropbox, here I'm just assigning those inside of here, and that's what my multi-value set list is. It's taking a parameter, which is DD styles or drawer styles, little methodology in my madness there. Then I have the value I can choose is single. That's the only value if it's less than 24. But if it's equal to or greater than 24 or less than or equal to 30, then I have 2 options. I have a single option and I have a double option. Okay? And then if I have something that is greater than or equal to 33, then I only have a double option. Right, and I can also put in these little message boxes so that when I go through and I toggle that, the user gets these message prompts. So here I said, hey, the bases over 30 inches are only available with double doors. Right, so types of the rules that are inside of there. So giving you a little bit of idea of the method of my madness of how I'm capturing that information. Now we can kind of see the full style where this is a lot of information we talked about. I added kind of the if-then statements of suppressing kind of the features based on the greater than, drawers, equal than. You can see that's in here. I'm also turning off or turning on a lot of features based upon what's happening. So you kind of see I'm setting styles and drawers. Now we can kind of see all the rules and the method that are going into there. So you can have little rules, right? We had a color rule, we had a size rule. You can have an Uber rule that captures a lot of different intent. And it has many rules inside this model as I want. So now we can look at this form, and we can say, you know what, I want a, let's go to a door model, right? So we can choose, now I'll apply that. I have a single door. If I wanted to change that to a double door, what would happen? We can kind of get the nice little updates here. If I wanted to, change my color, maybe like a cool white, right? I like that color. That just kind of shows off a lot of the features a little bit better in this environment. Then we talked about the other rule, like, hey, you know what? If I have a box that's so big, well, if I want to apply that, you know what? Get that message that, bases over 30 inches can only have double doors, and then it would, by default, set that back to a two-door model. And you'll notice here, my drop-down, it's gone. And that's what that multi-value set list did, is it said, hey, if it is, according to that rule, greater than 33, then I only have one option from my drop-down, so that the user can't go in and try to choose and get confused with picking kind of that single model. So very, very beneficial there. And so then we can kind of change that. And if I wanted to maybe go from a door model to a drawer model, right? We have 3 models, and you can kind of see that rule we built as well. So if I go greater than 3, well, that little extra detail goes away from the model. So that's iLogic. That's how I'm controlling kind of any of that metadata, that tribal knowledge. I can capture that with rules. I can build these little forms. So the next step is, well, what if I wanted to take that to the next level? If I wanted to give that to kind of some kind of sales configuration. So prior to the December update release of Configurator 360, I could upload this, and that would be my model. I could come into my Configurator 360 website. I could go ahead and we can kind of pick that information, so I can go in and see the cabinet model and start to kind of see the interface. And this would be something that our sales team could do. They could go in, they could kind of configure this model for the customer, or I can embed this like in my website so my customers could go and can kind of see this and you can see the same kind of rules and everything that's being built inside of here. So I have an 18-inch model, automatically updating that to a single door. I can pull through from some of the different color options and toggle through that, and you can kind of see. So this would be something where your customer would interact with the model. And this is, like I said, prior to December release of Configurator 360, this is all you could do is on a single base with a single model. But now we want to get into, okay, what else can we do with Configurator 360? So for that, let's go back to my catalog. You can see all the different parts that are happening inside of there. You can kind of see I have some playground sets. I have some wheels that I can configure. So giving you an idea of different things that we can control, not just for cabinet builders, right? So here I have a wheel design. I can load that information up and kind of see the different options that we have there as well. So really, Configurator 360 is a tool to take your inventory, your iLogics, your rules, your models, and extend that out to your sales team. So we'll give this a second here to see if it'll load. I haven't played with this one for a while, but you can kind of see, do I want slots on this rim, right? So I have just a little checkbox that says, yeah, you know what, I want some slots on this rim. I can also choose the rim size or the wheel size and things of that nature. So it really gives you that tool for your customer to interact with that model. So you can kind of see the different things that are happening. And even in this one, I'm actually calculating a price. So you can add price as an iLogic rule, so that if I change that, well, it's going to be more expensive because I got to do extra tool pass, things like that. If I go from an 18-inch wheel to a 22, everybody loves 22s now these days. So you can kind of see it also has a pricing module that'll pull up and update that information as well, because I'm just passing that to a parameter that I'm controlling inside of Inventor with some kind of iLogic rule. So that's, again, keeping in mind that's pre-December release. I could do a wheel and that was it. I could do a cabinet, that was it. But now maybe I want to do this wheel on a car or do that cabinet in a kitchen. And that's where we're going to go next, is showing you kind of that. So give it another minute, second or two here, for be able to upload that new update inside of there, inside of Config 360. So the last thing here is you can have a quote button, right? So I can actually have a request for quote that I could start that operation. I could send an email to somebody, in purchasing or sales, that get a notification, hey, a customer went through our configurator and purchased a quote. Also, I can do different output types, right? So I can output this information and download it, and we'll cover that here in just a moment. So we'll come back to there. So I want to show you how you can get that information inside of some of those cabinets, because those cabinets are going to have to go into this room. But based upon that, well, how are they entering into that room? So for that, let's pull this model up inside of doing the setup. So I'm just setting this up. You can kind of see here's some little glyphs, and what these glyphs are, they're connectors. So we look at A360, we look at our connectors panel, right? You see some information now. I can define those connectors. So if I want to bring in a component, so for example, let's go to my workspace here, and I can dive down into my Configurator 360 models. Go to that cabinet that we just created. There's those different boxes, and here is that box we just created. Actually, there's the one we just created, so we'll open that one up. So I'm going to place him into this interface, And so what I have to do now is define how can this cabinet be placed in the kitchen. Well, to do that, I'm just going to use a joint. So joints are very flexible to helping us define how these models can interact with its other models. So here we'll say, hey, this cabinet can go up on that interface. Well, not exactly how we thought this would interact, right? So we can define, right? So now I've got those models. They're defined inside of here, and now we can kind of see what's going on with that cabinet, right? So that cabinet's in here, it's defined. We'll see here it's rigid, so let's go back and we'll modify that because we don't want it to be rigid. We actually want it to be a slider, right? So it can slide upon any position on this wall. I could then go ahead and define other connections. So if I wanted to snap to, use your imagination here, if I wanted to snap to another cabinet, or if I wanted to snap to an end wall, things like that. That's what we do, is we just define in these joints. And so once I have this joint, I'm going to make it a configurator connector. So here what this is saying is it's saying I have my connector, I have the two boxes, I have the box and I have the wall. Well, the wall I want it to be accepting, so it's a socket, right? It's accepting other components, and in the box I want it to be a plug. It's going to snap to others. And a drop connector means I'm taking that box and I'm dropping it into an environment. This wall, because I can have multiple cabinets on that wall, well, you know what? We want it to allow it to have, multiple connectors. So that's kind of what that's doing for us, is so we can kind of see that model. So if you wanted to test it, there's a great way to test that, right? I can have a connector, it's just floating out here, and I can test that connection right inside of here, so you can kind of start to see all the different connectors I have. So I have this, back wall, right? So we'll call this back wall connector right here. And then we have the room layout sliders, and we can join those together. And now you can kind of start to see how that's going to interface. And then from here, I would upload that content into 360 with all the different pieces and components. So here's an example. If I had additional cabinets or cabinetry or things like that, I could pull that up. And so now we'll go to Configurator 360 and show how that would work. And one other thing I failed to mention is I can also, inside that room layout, I have its own options. So for instance, Travis, I'm going through and I'm actually redesigning, my kitchen. And I'm actually going to do a kitchen remodel this summer. So it's like, all right, well, let's see, here's Travis's kitchen area, that he's working with from the cabinets. This is my kitchen layout, right? I have a window, I have a door. Maybe my window is only 36 inches tall, right, or wide, so you can adjust that. I can define here, what's the spacing from that wall, what's my door height. So here I can configure this room, what type of flooring do I want. So it's just configuring the room, and then we'll drop other components into here, and that's where these accessories come from. All right, so here's a corner cabinet. Bring him in, he snaps to the corner, and then I can define just a free-form grab. You also see when it gets close to another component slider, right? It's going to snap. If I wanted to bring this base cabinet in, and then how he can kind of come in, I can drop him out, or I can move him into position, and a little button there. I won't do it so fast next time so you guys can see it. All right, so we'll slide him over, and then you see the little green highlights letting me know those are going to connect, and there's a connect button. Connect those two cabinets together. Then all those parameters and things that we were controlling before are still there available, so I can change the width. We'll change him to 36 inches, because that's going to be where my sink's going to go. We can apply that rule inside of there. Now I have the drawers that are coming. Well, I don't want it to be a drawer model, because like I said, it's where my kitchen's going to go, or my sink's going to go. So we'll change it from a drawer to a door. And now we can start to lay out that kitchen. Other things that I've added to this particular data set is, well, next to my kitchen sink, everybody needs a dishwasher, right? So inside of here we can see, and when I drag it upon an area, it automatically snap to the window. So all I have to do is let it snap to the next cabinet. And then we can add some additional pieces in here. Add another base cabinet. Maybe this one's going to be a drawer model. Slide it in here, connect it. See those options again, those styles, right? So here maybe this can be a 30-inch, wide. We'll apply that change. And one other thing we could do is, I haven't done it in this, but here in case you want to change the models, the colors, right? So maybe you have a multiple colors, or for this example, I know a lot of the new modern thing to do is actually to go out and look at doing these configurations where you actually have multiple colors. Like if you had like an island or something, right? There's a different color than your base cabinets. All those types of options can all be captured just building those rules. And then the last one I'll show is this large pantry. How it can kind of the same way configuring the different options and such. And now we'll connect those two together. Change these options. Travis's is going to be 30. This one's really cool. Has some other rules in here. It's going to be, also going to be split. So I want a second set of doors. We'll apply all those changes there. And now we have that kitchen configuration right from, and now I have a single option or I have a double option. So we'll change those to double doors and apply that. All right, so there we have the options that we've kind of configured. You see some of the different colors and such out of there. And now the benefit for you can either, we talked about the output types, is I can simply just download this file configuration, right? I can do an inventor assembly. I can do a solid, right, a step file. So I don't give them all the information. But then, so now that a customer has configured that, I can go and I can see, hey, here's what they configured. I can have the model information and things, and then I can bring that back over, to Inventor and do full circle to maybe add additional components or things that I needed. So here you can kind of see, the finished example here back inside of Inventor. So if we recap kind of what we talked about and things we showed iLogic and the power that iLogic can bring to you guys. Configuring your products, building in some rules, using the snippets to make it easy. Then we showed how Configurator 360 can extend that to a sales tool. So now your customers can go to your website and log in and get all the details and configure their products, your products, to what they want. That's really what Configurator 360 adds to the game. So I'll just come back and kind of do a little recap here. So summary, what we just showed. iLogic, really, really powerful. I showed you just a little bit of what was going on there, but a lot more things you guys can do with iLogic than just what I showed. Also showed how we can extend that data to sales, and we showed the new enhancements. So if you've seen Configurator 360 and you weren't aware, it's updated. We now have that drag and drop functionality, so I can now assemble larger assemblies that are consisted of multiple sub-assemblies and see how all that information works. So for that, I think now, Jorge, I'll turn it over to you. I know right at the half-hour mark, but I'll turn it back to you, Jorge, so we can answer some of those questions that were coming in.
Great. Yeah, thanks again, Travis. So just to wrap up here, there were just a few questions that I answered. One I just thought I'd bring up here with everybody. Someone asked, did iLogic replace iParts, or does iParts still exist? So I just want to make that clarification for everybody. iParts is still in here. iLogic, I think you'll agree, Travis, and please feel free to add some more there if you like. Just adds more to the capabilities you're able to do. It gives you like this form, for example, that you can go to and click on the different parts and components and features that you might want to actually have show up on your model, as well as being able to push that to something like Configurator 360, which for all of you that are on subscription do have access to, by the way. That's another reason I thought it was really good to make sure we showed you Configurator 360 and its capabilities, because it is something that you have access to.
Yeah, so just add to that, we can use iParts in an iLogic rule. So yeah, everything, if you've developed a lot of iParts, you can use all that stuff in iLogic. So yeah, I think great point there, Jorge.
Good, good. Just something to add really quick. Someone did ask about joints, and that's something that Travis just touched on as well. So that has been suggested by other users as well. So I do have that in our list of topics that we want to discuss. So hopefully we'll have that sometime real soon, actually. Just, do you happen to know, Travis, is Configurator 360, does it output like a 3D PDF file or something like that by any chance that you know of?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what the output. If it's a 3D PDF, let's pull up if that's one of my defaults. I don't see it as an option here that I have set, but yeah, I don't know if it does an output to a 3D PDF. But we can do steps, a DWF, right, or a 3D DWF, but I don't think we quite yet output that out to a 3D PDF.
Okay. Yeah, that question was from Brian. Brian, I'll follow up with you here. I have some other links that I found while we're on this webcast for you that might be helpful too. Okay, those are the questions we had here for today. I'd like to wrap up here by just don't forget, the next steps are you have access to Configurator 360. If you go to the product page for Autodesk.com, you'll find more information about it. And we'll include links on this recorded video that we have. So this will be up on our KETIV channel on YouTube. If you go to the AVA playlist, you'll find this here shortly. Just a quick weekly update as well. We do have another webinar on Tuesday. It's not an AVA session, but for anyone who's wants to know more about Autodesk simulation, we're going to look at some design optimization of using Inventor with Autodesk Simulation Mechanical. So you can go to ketiv.com to register for that. And our next session again is on Inventor Dynamic Simulation. So it'll be in Inventor using the stress analysis software inside of there. And we'll have a little bonus session on looking at mechanical event simulation, which is looking at an actual event over time and seeing what happens and what stresses you'll see. So, and that is also another topic that was recommended by a lot of the users here, the community, and we'll have someone else from Autodesk as well joining us, Jay Tedeschi. So, long time Autodesk. I've been with Autodesk for a long time. Also, someone I strongly recommend you join this session and watch. So thanks again, Travis, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Again, don't forget to visit our different social media sites here so that you can keep getting more updates from us. And I look forward to having you at our next session. Thanks again, Travis.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.